A quote from today's show: rock bottom is when you decide, finally, to stop digging. It doesn't get grittier than that. Mark Busch is next.
This is A Dash of Grit. Recipes for success from courageous leaders who overcome challenges and build great things. Now, podcasting from Spire to leaders in local communities like yours, here is Brian Leflock.
And let's get cooking. I think one of the hardest jobs that there must be would be in funeral services. I can't imagine dealing with people at a more crucial and a more important and a more heart-wrenching time. And I think every time I've had to be involved with that, it's always difficult. And so I appreciate the work that people do when they spend every day in that industry. And folks, I'm really excited to introduce you to Mark Busch. He is the retired vice president and fourth generation owner of Busch Funeral and Crematory locations throughout Northeast Ohio. And that's going to be part of the story that we tell today. He's now a licensed customer experience coach with the Julius Group. And if you've had a chance to hear John's show on our podcast, he's an amazing person. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Mark has also formed and founded a company called AI Intuitive. It's providing customer experience and artificial intelligence technology solutions to companies throughout North America. That's a lot, and we're going to hear from him now. Mark Busch, welcome to Dash of Grit.
Welcome, Brian. So glad to join you and all your listeners here on Dash of Grit today. Look forward to our time and sharing and hopefully a message that provides people a path to having experienced strength and hope in their life.
Yeah, and I think you're going to. And I want to dive right into that. And I know that there's been a lot of hurdles that you've had to overcome, a lot of challenges you've overcome, and I think people will be inspired when they hear those. I want to talk first, though, about what's great. You are a newly retired and refired up gentleman, and you're doing amazing things. Can you talk to me about what's great? And then we're going to get into the hurdles of grit a little bit.
Well, what's great is, after a 40 plus year career in funeral service, November 1st of 2020, I retired from our family business, still under the careful direction of the Busch family, my brother Jim leading the organization to above and beyond some greater care and greater service to families here in Northeast Ohio. I realized it was time, mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. So I informed Jim way back in May of 2019 of my decision to step away from the organization. And as you can imagine, basically a 40 plus year relationship takes a little bit of time to undo.
Yes.
So we finally got that done. I crossed that hurdle, and lo and behold, just a few short weeks after of that decision, I was on the phone with John DeJulius of the DeJulius Group. John, the Chief Revolutionary Officer of Customer Experience Worldwide, invites me to be a member of the inaugural class of licensing CX coaches to form their own entrepreneurial business, to go out and utilize his methodology and teachings to basically do customer experience coaching. Something that I got involved with in 2010 at the Ritz-Carlton, 2013 at Zappos, and 2015 at the Broadmoor. Only then in 2016 to start down this path of customer experience for our funeral homes. And working with John's organization, it was a great path. And so when John made this offer to me just a few short months ago in December, I came to the conclusion that, yes, this was a good fit. So January 2021, I became a licensed CX coach. And at the same time, I had been dabbling in this word that really a lot of people don't understand, artificial intelligence. And I came to realize that there was customer-facing solutions that were learning human-to-human interactions to help elevate customer-facing teams with their customer experience, artificial intelligence solutions. And so what we've done at AI Intuitive, which is the company I then founded this year, we're utilizing John's methodologies as a licensed CX coach and artificial intelligence platforms that are helping with real-time solutions, technology platforms to help customer-facing teams take their interactions to a new level. It's been fascinating. We opened the doors May 1st. I shared with you, it's been a viral success. It just is getting so much traction from both on those companies wanting to learn about our artificial intelligence solutions and those companies wanting to learn about CX coaching.
I love that path that you're on of taking care of customers and implementing a system of taking care of customers into all the businesses that you've owned and are owning. And I'm sure that comes from your experience at the Busch funeral services. I'd like to talk now. Maybe we get a little personal here. I'd like to talk about the past. I'd like to talk about grit as you built those funeral homes, as you built that business to the success that it is. You overcame some things along the way. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Wow. Everybody has a story, Brian, and my life was everything and then some, and I had to face life's challenges, I had my struggles with alcohol and drug addiction throughout the course of my life, and had many challenges as a result of that abuse, only to overcome it, I thought, time and time again. But if you've ever been in a situation where you just can't manage that, I finally realized that I needed to step away and get some professional help. So in 2013, my mother confronted me. Mark, I think you have a problem with your drinking. And I said, no, I don't, Mom. And I think there was more people that knew that I had a drinking problem, and I was the last one to know it that I did. Mm-hmm. As many times with a person that has an addiction, that they're the one that least recognizes the symptoms of their problem. 2015, my mom died, and I numbed myself through her death. It was difficult, and it also gave me every reason in the world to escalate my alcohol use and my prescription drug use to a new level. And with that, I then decided in 2017 that it was time to take care of it in a serious way.
Mark, I'm interested, before we talk about taking care of it, I'm interested. Were you working at the family business at the time?
There's people that leave their place of work every day and deal with what they're faced with at work in unhealthy ways. And I don't have any statistical fact. There's a lot of reports out there of professions and businesses that have a high incident of alcoholism amongst people. I can't speak to any empirical data, but I can clearly say that, yes, I'm an alcoholic, and I had to admit that. I had to surrender to that fact. And yet it took me, a later point in life to finally do something about it. Because I tried every other way imaginable and couldn't do it on my own.
I'm interested, and if this is too deap of a question, you just tell me.
Yeah.
I'm okay, but I'm interested.
No, I'm good, Brian. I'm good.
You're in a funeral home situation where you're dealing with folks that have had a loss, and yet the passing of your mother sounds like it drove you deeper into the well. Is that the case? And yeah, how did
I did? I instead of moving through my grief and having a healthy grieving period as a result of my mother's death, I numbed myself to another level with the use of alcohol and the use of prescription medications. And, I can freely talk about it today. Now, celebrating over 4 years and 4 months of sobriety, it's been a game changer. It's been a game changer. And I wish I would have listened to my mom in 2013 or even when I tried in the earlier years in 2005 and 2008 to have professional help back then. It just didn't work.
And that was the other thing I wanted to talk about before we get to the better news and the inspiring news of overcoming these things. You mentioned that you've tried multiple times. What's that like? What's it like to try to beat this thing, think you've beaten this thing, and then slip back in?
You know, you say I'm not going to use, if you will, alcohol or drugs for say 30 days. And if I can stay off for 30 days, I've got it, you know. But if you understand alcoholism and drug addiction, is that it becomes one of a progressive nature. So when you pick back up, you relapse, if you will, back into utilizing an addictive substance, it picks up right where it left off. There's no break from it. And more importantly, you really truly haven't dealt with what's the root cause of it. What are the underlying issues? See, we utilize a drug, alcohol or drug, legal or illegal, to numb our pain or numb whatever it is in our life, our sadness, our depression, and those are all depressive types of drugs. So all you're doing is deepening your depression and numbing and not really dealing with the root causes. See, once you remove the drugs and the alcohol, that's when the real hard work has to begin. Because that's when you start to really have your clear thinking back of who you are, what you are, and what is the root causes of why you're abusing your body the way you are.
And so the real hard work after you. So when does rock bottom hit? You found a spot where you weren't going to allow this to ever happen to you again. And so is it that and that decision, or is it the once it's all gone and you're clear trying to deal with those demons?
Rock bottom is when you decide to stop digging.
Okay. I like that. I'm going to use that, Mark, if you don't mind.
Rock bottom is when you decide to stop digging and you've had enough.
Wow.
You've surrendered and that your life has become unmanageable. That you are, I've heard stories of people being suicidal. There have been people that have had and crossed that line and committed suicide, that they just can't go on with living. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had to find a solution, and every other solution I had tried didn't work, including regularly meeting with a clergy person and reading and doing devotions and praying. And that didn't work. And I finally sat down in May of 2017 and I looked right at my wife and looked right at this clergy person. And I said, we've tried just about everything, but honestly, I'm here to tell you this morning, God's going to need a little help. And without intervention, without any pressures from anyone, I made the decision and I put myself into a facility.
Your business is a family business, and I know how addictions and alcoholism, I know how that affects a family. Was it affecting your business?
It was affecting my relationship with my family, specifically my wife and children. It was affecting my relationship with my business partner, my brother. And, Jim had my back. When I made this decision, he supported my decision fully, 100%. I know that it probably didn't have me make the best sound business decisions. I never went to work under the influence. I went into work on occasion not feeling all that great.
Sure.
But, no. And it was just the standpoint that I was slowly killing myself. Alcohol is a poison. Abuse of prescription medications. A little label on the pink bottle. The label they put on the prescription bottle.
Sure.
Do not take this with alcohol. Well, that was my ticket. To reason to believe. Well, maybe I should take 2 of these and see what the real effects are if I drink, some alcohol with it. It was delusional thinking beyond its wildest dreams. you know, and it's part of my past that I can openly share about today.
Yeah.
That if you would have asked me to be on Dash of Grit, 4 months after sobriety or even a year after sobriety, I would have said, no way, Brian.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it. Today, I feel so blessed of where my life is today. And I feel that if I can help one person today that's listening, or if I can help more than one person, a family member that has a family member they're struggling with, believe me, there is help right here in Northeast Ohio in so many ways. It's beyond words.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about grit. Grit is overcoming the problem. It's not necessarily the problem. And people will quit and people won't show grit. You showed grit and here you are. Let's talk about the solution. You checked yourself into a facility, or what's the solution? What's the inspirational point here?
I researched the facility. I wanted to stay right here in Ohio. There's a lot of places you can go, geez, I mean, they almost look like country club places, And I went to New Day Recovery over outside of the Warren Youngstown area. And it was a 20-person facility. And I went in there and I was strip searched upon my arrival. I was told the likelihood of my detox, of me surviving the detox, that I would have the same possible likelihood of that being ending in death. Because of the combination of prescription medications I had been taking and the alcohol I had been taking, it was a potential more fatal detox than that of a detox from heroin. And that opened my eyes. I spent 7 days there. I had to be clean before I could get into the facility that I had selected. And I went down to Arrow Passages Recovery in Massillon, Ohio, a Christian AA-based organization, if you will, and following the teachings of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, keep in mind, I had no intention of going away and becoming a card-carrying member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I just wanted to go away and get sober, get off the drugs, get off the alcohol, come back and be a gentleman and go about my life. But I found the right people. That for once in my life, I finally took the cotton out of my ears, put the cotton in my mouth, and I listened.
Wow.
And that was hard for a guy that goes 6'5", pretty big. I've got this. Nothing's going to take this guy down. I had to break myself. And I had to be broken. They will say getting sober is easy. Staying sober is the hard work. And I found that out. See, I wanted to leave Arrow Passages Recovery the first weekend I had gotten there. I didn't want to stay. I couldn't believe the decision that I made. I'm ready to go home. And then once I had been there for my full 30 days and was ready to be discharged, I didn't want to leave. Because that drink or drug is right outside your doorway doing push-ups, waiting for people like me to come back out.
Yeah.
And the process that I am now finding of that, what I call my story, watching the corn grow that summer, is just, I look back on it and I learned so much about myself. And I went through the entire initial steps of understanding the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
What's the hardest step in the 12 steps? Where do you have to show the most grit?
I tell anybody, if you're going to seek a program of recovery and follow the teachings of Alcoholics Anonymous, that you need to really lean into your first, second, and third step to have the foundation, the spiritual foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a program for living. And then you have to do a thorough fourth step and take your personal inventory of everything. And that means everything. And putting down whatever in your life has been your wrongs. And there's a process of discerning your fourth step and everything you really have to list. And it has to be thorough and complete. And then finding a trusted person to do your fifth step with. Then 6, 7, 8, 9 set you up for then 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah, it's really not a fair question, is it? It's a question asked by someone who doesn't understand. It's like all 12 steps are virtually impossible, and congratulations to you for going through it.
Yeah, well, and that's the greatest thing about it is that we give it to get it, and that's what an AA person is supposed to do, is continue to give it away to continue to receive the gift.
And so let's give the gift. Let's talk about great things, because here you are, and you are killing it. You are signing up with the DeJulius Group. You are starting your own company. You have you have overcome, or at least you're continuing to overcome on a day-to-day basis. Let's talk about that. What are you most proud of after all of the demons that you've gone through? What are you the most proud of, and so happy that you were able to show the grit that you did?
I think, my wife and I celebrate our 10th anniversary another week and a half.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she stayed by my side. She never once, say leveled, kicked me out the door. All the other stories I've heard about, divorce and problems in people's lives. And right along with my wife on the same level is the relationship I now enjoy with my children today. My son's 26, my daughter's 23. And basically I had alcoholic or drug addicted tendencies during their entire, childhood years and adolescent years. And the biggest, thing that, when I was diagnosed with cancer in July of 2019, to be able to be faced with that and not go out and drink over it. And then my dad's death in February of 2020, to go through that journey in a healthy way. And not relapse over that. There's been many situations that in the past I would have turned to a drink or a drug to get through it. And so today it's just a true blessing, the relationship I enjoy with my two children, my wife, my extended family, and my circle of friends. If there's something that comes before me today, I've got a toolbox that I can lean into. And it's a great toolbox. It's a simple program, a simple solution for complex people.
Yeah. Tell me then about how will you use that experience, the experience that you just shared with us, and we didn't even get into the passing of your father and the cancer, surviving cancer and things, but you've been through a lot and you've overcome and you've survived, and now you're moving forward. Tell me, what's the number one thing you will take with you as you move forward, and where, as you move forward, will you find now that you have to show even more grit to take your next endeavor to success?
I think having boundaries of my personal life, keeping that. If I'm spiritually fit, mentally fit, physically fit, there's not too much that that I don't believe I could take on.
Yeah.
But at the same standpoint, I used to carry anvils up here on my shoulders. I used to carry bags of sand behind the anvils. I used to carry the load of everything inside of me. Today, I need to daily empty that bucket, if you will. And so I have a morning routine that I do. I stop, pause, and take back my day in the middle of my day if I need to. And then I close my day in a very intentional way. And it's, there's any number of different types of inspirational things you can find on the internet, to inspirational books, very short reads that just help me take a moment and just thank who I choose to call God, for what I've been blessed with just today. I live in the present the best I can, where I was always down the road 6 months, a year, or even 2 years down the road before. Now I'm just so thankful for everything that I've been blessed with today. Yeah. And I thank our Lord and Savior for that blessing every day.
And I think, Mark, what you just said, there are business owners and community leaders and fathers and sons out there and daughters that are struggling with, can I get through this thing that's in front of us? And there is nothing that's too heavy. There's nothing that's too large. You've been able to overcome the worst of things. And there are people out there that are dealing with things that are just as, at least in their minds, just as hard. And so your word to them is to trust in God and to never give up. Is that accurate?
And you hope. I mean, that word hope. We can focus. We can spend and consume our day focusing on the 2% of our day that went wrong,
right?
Versus focusing on the 98% of our day that was incredible, fantastic, awesome.
Yeah.
But we'll have the 2% of our day just literally suck the life out of us. And it could be a coworker, it could be a boss, it could be a friend, it could be a family member. It can just ruin your day. And so what I've tried to do is, okay, but there's this part of my day that went well. There's this part of my day that went well. And I really try and stay in the good. And I really, today, try and find the good in everyone that I come across. People get into situations where, they're quick to draw conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good place to go.
Mark, you've been inspiring to many, and I hope that perhaps, and I doubt that you would mind if someone reached out to you and was going through issues or had demons and wanted to get your perspective. Yeah. Any problem with people reaching out to you to talk about business or anything personal at all? How would they get in touch with you, Mark?
Be more than happy to share with anyone that needs an ear to listen to. You can reach out to me at mark@AI Intuitive. That's AI Intuitive, AIintuitive.ai.
Fantastic. And we put that there on the link. If people want to see that on video, they can on the YouTube link so that they can see exactly what that was. Mark, one of the joys that I get of doing this job is inspiring others. I mean, it's I don't know if it's why I created this show, but it sure is what we do. And I can't thank you enough for your vulnerability and you're willing to share and to help others if they need the same help that you were able to come. So thank you so much for being a guest on A Dash of Grit.
So glad to be here, Brian. Thank you for having me on Dash of Grit. God bless.
I appreciate it. Mark, this is Dash of Grit. We do this every week. And if folks, if you're out there looking for more stories of inspiration, there's like 70 or 80 of them back in the back. So go ahead and take a look and check us out next time. Until we meet again, remember, the recipe for success in life does include a dash of grit. For Mark Busch, I'm Brian Lefelock. Thank you.
This is A Dash of Grit. Recipes for success from courageous leaders who overcome challenges and build great things.